Hi, this is Denice Riddle. I am from San Diego County News here with Ben Kalasho. He is the first elected Chaldean in El Cajon and the youngest in El Cajon history to be elected to city council. Hello, thank you for welcoming me to your home.
Of course, thanks for coming.
I have a few questions for you. The first one I'll start out with is when and what made you decide to run for city council?
Well, when? Probably 70 years ago. And a mentor of mine, who is also an elected official, sort of showed me the ropes. I had volunteered to work on various campaigns before. And he was the inspiration, I think, behind pushing me to run for city council. And here I am today. But it's something that was always on the back of my mind. Obviously, being uh, civically engaged and helping the community is something that I did even prior to winning a city council seat. So,
And what was his name?
Augie Scalzetti, he's actually a board member of Padre Dam, and he did my swearing in at City Hall. So I brought him over, and I guess that wasn't the protocol. Usually, I guess the city clerk does it. So, but I was very honored that that they allowed me to do that, and he accepted. And it was a moment. What I said when I was being sworn in, I gave the example of I remember him urging me to run was like me being on a diving board and I was about to jump off. And he was the person that was basically like, you got this, and just pushed me to do it. So he's that person.
Oh, he has to be very proud also.
Yeah, he was very proud.
Next question is, what advice would you give other Middle Easterners wanting to get into politics?
Run. No, I'm just kidding. It's
Run away or run to?
both. No, it's politics is it's a different field. It's not for everybody. You have to have the toughest skin. I know people say that, I got tough skin and I don't get irritated, nothing bothers me. That is just like slightly hyperbolic when people say that. So yeah, it's not for everybody. I know it's difficult. You have to have the means, and even financially, to be able to, because this obviously this job it's not for the money. It's it's mainly for making a difference, leaving behind, and it certainly is for me as some sort of legacy. You always want to leave a place better than you took it over. My dream is when you're driving, biking, or walking through El Cajon in the next 4 years to be able to notice the positive changes that I've made. If I hadn't made any, I wouldn't run. I would stay home because prior to running for office, I mean, my life is perfect. I have the best life. My family is great, my wife. So you really have to go in there knowing what you want to accomplish, knowing that it's tough. And for somebody like me who can work with both sides of the aisle, this is like something profoundly different, and you don't find that in politics. I mean, I have friends who are Republican, friends who are Democrat, super conservative, extremely liberal, and we're able to come together and beautify where we live based on pragmatic thinking. Now, I can't reach everybody, but if I can reach the majority of them, then I will. And we don't agree all the time, but I don't expect them to. But I'm willing to go that extra mile to work across aisles.
To get things done. Only if Washington could do that.
Yes.
In your opinion, or what is your opinion on women in politics, and does this clash with your beliefs? I know your wife is a very strong influence in the community, and you're very proud of her, and you can see that it shows.
Yeah, so, absolutely. The strength of women in our community, when I say ours, I obviously just don't mean the Middle Eastern community, but just San Diego in general, will pay dividends to the entire region. But at the same time, I would say that we shouldn't make it a point to say we have to elect a woman just because she's a woman. And we shouldn't, just like I would never vote for a Middle Eastern person just because I'm Middle Eastern. We have to always look for the best person for the job, people who can make a difference, and I don't even want to necessarily say share our beliefs, because most of the time that's not taken into consideration, because that's not pragmatic thinking. You have to look at the person's qualifications, what they've done, what leadership skills do they exhibit, and then you just base it off of that. But absolutely, women should run for politics. But if you look at the city council in El Cajon, and just because there is no woman on there, that doesn't mean we're going to do a poor job, or that doesn't mean we're incapable of doing it. That just doesn't come into play. It's just a non-starter for me.
Right. So gender basically is a non-issue as long as what they bring to the table and what their intentions are coincide with your city and what you want to do.
Absolutely, and this is coming from somebody who owns the largest ethnic pageant in America, somebody who in my victory speech spoke at lengths about the empowerment of women. But again, I don't see that being the reason why we should elect somebody based on, there is no woman on the city council, so let's vote for a woman just because.
Right.
I'm not completely sold on that idea.
So how about your wife running?
Yeah, my wife will do a better job than, I dare say this, me and the rest of the city council. She would do a better job. You know, public service for her is ingrained into her family. Her uncle was a senator here, Wadi Deda, and he was the first Chaldean senator. But she, you know, politics is something that you're born with, I think. It's like being a lawyer or a singer. You can take lessons or you can study, but to be an effective lawyer, yeah, you have to have that it thing. And she has it. She definitely has it. She's still young enough to not, so she's young enough to not have to do it right now. But I definitely always try to get her to understand certain issues. She's very passionate about city council issues as well. But we'll see. She's busy right now being the CEO of the Chaldean Chamber of Commerce.
We'll revisit that in 4 years and see where she's at then.
Maybe in 2 years I'll get her to run for something.
And my next question, well, we basically just answered that one. So what has been your reaction, or what has been the other council's reaction and the town's reaction to your winning this election?
I think that the town is excited because I bring a different voice to the council. And I don't mean that because I'm Middle Eastern. When most people think of me, Ben Kalasho, you know, being Middle Eastern is something like 7th on their list, because what I'm bringing to the table is a more of an independent, pragmatic voice to the table. Obviously, I'm a lot younger than the rest of the council, but obviously this is a good and bad thing. Most people will just write you off as being inexperienced, but I don't feel that way. I feel that although I'm in my early 30s, I have done so many things in my life. We own some of the few larger organizations, not only in California, but in the nation. So I will bring that pragmatic thinking to the table. I want to be that independent voice, the one, again, who can reach across both aisles. And to me, it's really important that El Cajon becomes a leading city in East County. I know a lot of times when people talk about crime rate or sales tax, they always say things like, why aren't we the same, why don't we have the same sales tax as La Mesa or Santee? But I want to say, why don't we have a better sales tax than them? Why do we have to be comparable? Why can't we lead? And I think that one of the better assets that we have in the city of El Cajon is having a great city manager, somebody who I've known for years. And maybe it just takes that different mindset. Not to say that I'm better than the rest of the council, that's not it at all, but just to say that we all are going to bring different attributes and different things to the table. And hopefully through that synergy, we can get a lot of things done. And that's what I'm really looking forward to.
As a El Cajon resident and native, I am encouraged by your winning.
Great, thank you so much. I think, yeah, I think so. A lot of them, I think a lot of the quote unquote establishment, the people who have been here in politics for a long time, I could understand why they would be sort of timid by my victory. And basically coming from a point of unknowing and an uncertainty about what I want to bring to the table. But if they were to give me a chance, and that's all I'm asking for, is to give me a chance, because I want to find a way to reduce homelessness. I want to bring sales tax lower. I want to be more business friendly. Am I going to be unconventional about my approach? Absolutely. Does it appear to be provocative in some ways to some of the people? Maybe, but I'm not being provocative just to be.
It's to inspire hope and change, which has not happened so far.
Sure. Yeah, and that's all obviously in perspective. There's quite a few people who are just happy with the way things are. And then there are people who I met, obviously walking door to door because I won, who want to who want to see that change happen, and who believe in the messenger. When I say things like, I want to see better assimilation between the Middle Eastern community and the people who are, in your words, native. And that message resonated with people clearly. And it's actually starting to resonate with a lot of Middle Eastern people here who I go into their businesses. Example would be going into downtown El Cajon and seeing all the Arabic writing, who tell me things like, I was getting fitted for a suit the other day at a business. And the guy goes to me, and as I'm being fitted, the guy says, I ordered a can of paint from the landlord. And I just brushed it off because I didn't know what he was referring to. So I said, okay, cool. And he said, because the Arabic writing on the side of my building, I don't want it there anymore. And so you're starting to see the spark in people understanding commerce better, understanding that people who don't read Arabic aren't going to patronize your business because they don't understand what you're selling. In addition to it being a public safety issue because the police don't know what this business is offering. But it's going to take somebody like me to go in there who speaks their language, and I mean that in more ways than one, metaphorically and literally, who can help them understand that the way to do business in America is to be obviously friendly to American values. So that message during my campaign trail resonated with a lot of people, and I think it's just as logical and bare bones as it comes. I don't think there's anything offensive in what I'm saying. I'm an immigrant myself, and English was my fourth language, but I was able to assimilate quite nicely, I think.
I think you've done quite nicely. I'm very, very excited to see what your term in office says, and I will be back for more interviews
Okay.
along the way
Good.
with subjects that I see or the concerns of the city and things that maybe aren't getting addressed. That I know we've gotten a bad rap lately with all of the riots, and we've just, a lot of people are sick of the crime increasing. Well, it takes action and movement and not so much complaining is put your mouth to work. Go do something about it. Let's fix this.
Yeah, during my campaign trail, some of our signs were going missing. And when I mean some, I mean like 80 of them.
That's more than some.
Yeah, so there was a time when it was just creating a financial ding. So I slept in my car for 4 days trying to stake out some of the signs. Like we put bait signs up, and
Wow.
that should give you a sense of the determination that I had. But I say that story to say that I live in Fletcher Hills, and obviously Fletcher Hills, the area is one of the nicer parts of El Cajon, and I understand that. Some of the signs that we staked out were like in Fletcher Hills area, and the things that I saw going on at 3 and 4 a.m. because most people obviously aren't awake and they're not in their cars just looking out.
Or watching video camera footage.
Correct. So the things that I saw were homeless people and just transients that just baffled me because you would think that number wouldn't be as high as I saw, but we would see like hundreds, and they would be in areas like Granite Hills, like Fletcher Hills, and not just off of Marshall where the trolley is, or off of 2nd Street where the usual areas are. No, they were everywhere, and so that issue is my issue, and I'm a councilman for all of El Cajon residents. So don't just think that just because I'm Middle Eastern, I'm going to put those issues as being my priority. I was elected, like in Fletcher Hills, I won like 90% of the precincts, where it's like 80% or so white here. So my issues and the things I want to handle, and the agenda items that I want to put forward affect every El Cajon resident. And it just so happens to be that I'm Middle Eastern.
Yeah, which is regardless of the fact.
Correct.
So what is your goal for the city of El Cajon while you have a seat?
Uh, the main thing is Ben's 5 plans, and those are the things that I want to try to put forward. So what they are is we want to talk about the homeless issue that we have here. It's an issue that I think is being overlooked a little bit, and I understand some of the reasons why, because the city doesn't want to be sued by certain aggressive approaches. But I'm not afraid to take on those aggressive approaches. In fact, I'm actually meeting with the city manager and city attorney to bring some of the case studies that have been implemented in places like Phoenix and San Francisco, in places where there's an aggregate amount of homeless people. Um, it's not just punishment. So when, it's not like,
Right.
it's not that. We want to.
They've criminalized it in San Diego, and they're arresting.
Sure. So I don't want to do that. I'm talking to them about the city, about creating first 20 jobs in the city where they would be for homeless people, for graffiti and landscaping. And then but you have to couple that in with an aggressive approach. Like, it's like tough love in a sense. And what I mean, I don't want to get into the details of it because I have to iron out the legality of how things go, but it's definitely something on my radar. There is that, and I also want to maintain home values for people like that live in Fletcher Hills and Granite Hills area. And you can do that by encouraging the homeowners to reinvest in their homes. If they see the city reinvesting in some of the public landscapings and some of the fairways going into these areas. So we encourage that, and as somebody who lives in Fletcher Hills, and the bulk of the home ownership is in Granite Hills, Fletcher Hills area. We want to talk about fear and division. So El Cajon is this big melting pot of different ethnicities. It's a lot different than some of our neighboring areas, like Santee and Lakeside and things like that. And it's going to take some learning, and a big learning curve. I mean, a lot of people, when they hear about Chaldeans, they'll automatically assume that they are either Arab or things like that. So I want to be that go-to person to help people understand the difference between who the Kurds are, who Assyrians are, who Syrians are, who Chaldeans are, and that difference matters, right? It's such a dynamic, and understanding it will help improve the quality of life for everybody. And another thing that we want to do is, and this is one of those topics that were hyperbolic and I guess volatile for some people. And it was talking about the refugees in El Cajon. And what I had proposed is that we have to figure out a way to work with the State Department to put a pause and a halt on refugees coming into El Cajon, purely on an economics argument. Yeah. El Cajon is the poorest city in the county. We have some 8,000 people who identify as being homeless.
Right, 40% of
Yeah.
residents below poverty level.
Right, and so we have to take care of the people who are in need now, the women, the veterans, the children who are out on the streets. Are we sympathetic and empathetic to the refugees? Absolutely. But it also doesn't serve the refugees any good if they're just being posted up in the hotels like in El Cajon. Right. It's not fair for them, as well as it's not fair for the people here. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't take any refugees in nationally. I mean, my interest is in El Cajon here. So I'm basically formulating my conclusion on the economics. There is a city similar to ours called Dearborn, Michigan, where I fear that El Cajon is headed down in the next 10 years. And for those of you who don't know where Dearborn is, I would just say to Google it, because we share so many similarities, like the size, the population, the demographics, crime rate. So this is what I don't want to see happen.
Well, we are running out of time. I am very, very honored to have gotten to do this interview with you and meet your lovely wife. And thank you so much, and look forward to the next 4 years of being a resident.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.